Deal or no deal? Can President Trump's administration cut one right now with Iran? We'll soon find out. Tomorrow, the U.S. holding nuclear talks with the Iranian government. And the hope is that Iran will give up its nuclear ambitions. But it will be no easy task. Neither side is agreeing on much at this point. It appears Iran is looking for an updated version of the Obama-era agreement that limited the country's stockpiles of nuclear material. That deal, however, President Trump ripped up in his first term. The country now much closer to being able to produce a nuclear weapon than when it was negotiated last. As of today, the country has a number of active nuclear sites, and among them, the primary enrichment one in Natanz and a sole operating nuclear power plant in Bushehr. Ahead of this weekend's talk, Senator Lindsey Graham reiterating the rising concerns on Iran's nuclear desires and also addressing what could potentially happen if they are achieved.
If you're watching TV out there, Iran is very close to assembling 6 nuclear bombs. They will kill Israel. They'll come after us. They'll try to purify Islam.
Despite the huge gap currently between the two sides on this, Iran today says it will give the U.S. talks a genuine chance. Past negotiations, what does that tell us? Well, July 2015, Iran reaches a nuclear deal between the U.S. and other powers. May 2018, Trump withdraws the U.S. A year later, Iran backs away as well. April of 2021, Iran begins enriching uranium up to 60%, while weapons-grade levels are at 90%. Saturday's talks scheduled between the U.S. and Iran, and the U.S. says they will be direct talks. However, Tehran saying they will be indirect. Joining us now, Iran Program Senior Director Behnam Ben Taleblu. He's also a senior fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Thank you and welcome back. I want to start with just the idea that Iran's nuclear threat has risen to an extreme danger. Can you put into perspective what that looks like for folks at home?
Yes, good morning. It's a pleasure to be with you. Listen, the Islamic Republic of Iran today, as we speak, is essentially a borderline threshold nuclear power. It is enriching uranium at exceptionally high rates. On its own territory today, it has enough uranium enriched at these high rates where if it was to weaponize it, and it could do so in less than a week, it would have about several bombs, a small handful of several bombs, maybe 5 to 6 bombs, depending on how you count. And then lastly, Iran is really the only country today in the world to develop first a 2,000-kilometer range ballistic missile without first having developed nuclear weapons. So this is a regime that's not only creating the fissile material, this is a regime that not only has in the past experimented with weaponization-related studies, but it's also been working towards the delivery vehicle. So this is a regime that has really put money where its mouth is on all 3 elements of what it means to be able to develop a nuclear weapon. And that's why this is an exceptionally dangerous time for counterproliferation in the Middle East.
And despite staunch objections to all of the things you just laid out Iran is doing, to what do you attribute their ability to get to this point?
Oh, well, the Islamic Republic has really, unfortunately, technically mastered many of the elements needed to create a nuclear weapon. There are several bipartisan foreign policy shortcomings in the past decade and a half, 2 decades, when it comes to stopping this regime. And ultimately, I think the Iranians have been able to play the Europeans and the Americans off each other, Democrats and Republicans off of each other. And for the past 2 decades in the Middle East, layer on, these asymmetric threats that their terror proxies and militias pose to be able to stave off an attack that could have been happening earlier against their nuclear program. So the regime today has exploited our weaknesses, taken advantage of opportunities under both Democratic and Republican presidents, and advance their program to where it is today.
So here we are. The U.S. threat to Iran is explicit. Agree to a deal or face military action. How do you anticipate Iran will respond in these talks, either directly or indirectly?
Well, already before we come into talks, you've seen the Islamic Republic significantly change, at least through official channels, its discourse with Washington. Yes, it still calls the United States the Great Satan. Yes, this is a regime that has quite literally tried to kill President Trump, but also it's trying to tempt President Trump. It's trying to tempt President Trump into talks that go nowhere fast, that first go past 2025 in October, when the Europeans can actually last trigger these snapback UN sanctions. It's also trying to stave off a potential Israeli preemptive military action. And by dragging out talks, I expect this regime to try to use engagement with America as a human shield against Israeli preemptive military action. And the reason the regime is on high alert for this preemptive military action is that throughout 2024, it watched as Israel essentially neutered its terrorist proxies to Israel's north and south, Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza. And now it's watching Donald Trump take preemptive military action against its proxies in the Arabian Peninsula, the Houthis in Yemen.
These are talks potentially between the U.S. and Iran. Should there be more involved in these conversations?
Well, certainly the U.S. does need the buy-in of its regional allies, particularly Israel and Saudi Arabia. But remember, since the Bush administration, various Republican and Democratic administrations have been working through this mechanism or this format called the P5+1. That's the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council plus Germany to deal with the Iranian nuclear program. And one of the successes after Donald Trump left office, but started by his policies, was that the Europeans essentially adapted maximum pressure policy of their own. So really, when Trump left office, the Europeans actually began to increase their sanctions and penalties against the regime. And I think it would be a mistake today to not benefit from that hardened European position that could be used to corner this regime. You know, make no mistake, every time the regime has been able to sit down with America privately, unfortunately, it's bested America. And actually, when you're looking at the country that they're doing negotiations in now, which is Oman, this was a private channel that the Americans and the Iranians started in 2012 that led to the flawed interim nuclear deal of 2013, that in my view led to the fatally flawed final or comprehensive nuclear deal of 2015, which Donald Trump withdrew from in 2018.
Wow, so much at stake here. Thank you for the important conversation, Behnam Ben Taleblu.
Thank you.
Officers leading the crackdown on illegal immigration have some new partners that may help in